The gentlelady from California, Nancy Pelosi.
I now pass this gavel and the sacred trust that goes with it to the new Speaker. God bless you, Speaker Boehner.
The voters giveth and the voters taketh away.
The cycle of life on Capitol Hill. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC's Top Line. I am Zach Wolf.
And I'm Karen Travers.
Each day at noon, high noon, we bring you the latest in politics. And today, Karen, start us off.
A lot going on today.
We'll
start off with that picture that you just saw. No takebacks. That was outgoing Speaker Pelosi handing over a very large gavel to incoming Speaker Boehner. And Nancy Pelosi did not go down without a fight there. Very interesting remarks, almost longer than John Boehner's, really defending what her Congress did when she was the leader there. And John Boehner's first action as Speaker is going to be to repeal probably the signature thing of the last 2 years, that health care law.
Right, and that will go no place in the Senate. It will not be repealed. And in fact, the CBO today showed that, you know, the way they do their crazy accounting, it will add to the deficit to repeal the health reform law that hasn't even really gone into effect yet. So.
And that gives a boost to the Democrats' claims that this is all just symbolic and ridiculous and a waste of time.
Exactly. But we'll see. You know, it will send a huge message to everyone to have the House repeal the very law that Democrats just did. But amending history, talking about messages on the House floor, they probably are still reading the U.S. Constitution, or at least an amended version of the U.S. Constitution. There was some question at the beginning of the reading whether they would include some of the pricklier parts of the Constitution, those where slaves are called 3/5 of a person for congressional apportionment, stuff like that. They ended up essentially deleting those parts out, Karen. Amendments or not, you know.
And again, this is another symbolic gesture by this new Republican majority in the House. If you look at some of the polling, majority of people that identify themselves as conservatives or Tea Partiers wanted the Republicans to get back to the roots of what is in the Constitution. So this is that gesture, that nod to them saying, here we are, we're going to read it, and we're going to stick to it over the next 2 years. Okay, Zach, now this is our question of why should I care? We're going to talk a little bit about this more with Major Garrett in a couple minutes, but the White House has announced that Bill Daley will be the new Chief of Staff. He's going to be replacing outgoing Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel, who's of course running for Chicago mayor. Bill Daley, former Commerce Secretary in the Clinton administration, Democratic Party official, and banking executive. Tell me, tell my mom, tell your mom, why is this story not something that's just Washington?
Well, don't forget about poor Pete Rouse there in the middle, on an interim basis, the current guy. But no, really, a lot of people are saying this could signal a move to the right. You know, Rahm Emanuel was all about getting legislation done. Bill Daley is going to be about setting up the re-election campaign. They're dealing with a hostile environment on Capitol Hill now. So, you know, I think your mom should care, because this is showing that Barack Obama is moving away from, you know, the beginning part of his administration where he's getting things done, and now he's going to try and sell himself. And don't count out the liberals being very frustrated with the bank executive now running, you know, essentially running the White House, although Rahm Emanuel had his ties as well. Finally, on a lighter note, Joe versus the 3-year-old. Yesterday, somebody at ABC, God bless them, was watching the C-SPAN video of the mock swearing-ins, and they came across this gem of a moment where Joe Biden does a bait and switch with Ron Wyden's 3-year-old son.
I need to borrow that back, William. Oh, God, give me. No, William won't give that back to me. Hey, I'll trade it. William, you see this? If you can tell me which hand it's in, you can have it, right? Which hand? Look at that. Okay, you got it? It's a mint.
A real pro there, Joe Biden. I've tried to take things from 3-year-olds in the past, and they always end up crying, but Joe Biden did it there very well. But joining us now up on Capitol Hill, we have Rosa DeLauro, Democrat from Connecticut, used to be a member of the majority, now a member of the minority after yesterday, Congresswoman. What's going to happen with the health reform bill? They're going to repeal it. They're in the House.
Well, first of all, look, I think the critical questions in the Democratic agenda is focused on, one, creating jobs, protecting the middle class, and trying to reduce the deficit. You know, that being said, And I think the Republicans said that they were going to come to Washington and they were going to focus like a laser on the economy and creating jobs. But they appeared to have, changed their mind on what they want to do, and they're moving on repealing health care. Quite frankly, we need to stop them from doing that. I don't believe that they can repeal health care. They won't repeal health care. In the meantime, they talk about repeal, but what they don't do is to talk about what they will replace health care with, the health care bill. First of all, this health care, what they would do by repealing it is, in fact, they do not protect the middle class. Secondly, they will increase the deficit by $143 billion. And in fact, they will lay off people and create more unemployment. But who, what senior do you know, your mother, your grandmother, who may be eligible for getting 50% of the cost of a prescription drug as a rebate, want to give that up? What small business has decided to provide health care to their employees and can get a third of that premium in a tax subsidy? Why would they want to give that up? I'm someone who has a pre-existing condition. What insurance company wants to insure me now today? Children with whether they have diabetes, whether they have asthma, or some other illness,
these are all things that you guys said.
Right.
When you were getting the bill passed, and then the voters went and threw the majority out.
Well, look, I mean, you would like to say that the result was because of the health care bill. I think we're looking at 9.8% unemployment in the United States, and my view is, and the point that I will make to you is that if we move on the economy, if there is a national growth strategy and we create jobs, which we can do. How? I'll be very specific with you. There's broad-based support for a national infrastructure bank, Chamber of Commerce, the unions, the president. That will help build America, that creates jobs, revitalizing our economy through manufacturing, providing tax incentives to businesses, shutting down the loopholes that allow corporations to take jobs overseas, yes, reducing the deficit. All of those things will help to grow the economy and create jobs. That's what the public cares desperately about.
Congresswoman, you have recently called this Republican effort to repeal the health care bill political theater and a kabuki dance.
That's
the latest
right.
ABC News Washington Post poll found that an overwhelming majority, 52 or more, 52%, 43%, oppose the health care bill.
No, it's
so
more,
to those 52%, it's not necessary
days.
Political theater. What do you have to say to that 52% that you haven't been saying, Democrats, for 2 years?
No, I think it's more even and more balanced than that because, and I'll tell you why, people have been the beneficiaries already. You're a family that has a child that just graduated from college. You can now keep them on your health insurance to age 26. Again, you've got wellness exams, vaccinations, etc. at no cost. It's preventive care. All that is going into play. But the fact of the matter is they are not going to repeal health care. And it is political theater. And we need to stop them at every turn. And I believe the public will ultimately stop them because of the benefits of the health care bill. Women no longer discriminated against because they are women and pay 48% more for their health care premiums. All that is now beginning to sink in.
Okay, Congresswoman, last thing that we can ask is about the debt limit. The president has officially, or Treasury Secretary Geithner has officially asked to raise the debt limit. There are a lot of Republicans out there who say they won't do it unless you drastically cut spending. How do you square that with trying to grow the economy and get that growth strategy you were just talking about?
Well,
I
think the new speaker said this a few days ago, that for his party this will be their first major adult vote. The Republican Party is now in charge. They have to govern. They have to get a majority to pass a raising of the debt limit, and that is their responsibility. We will wait to see as to what it is that they juxtapose against that, but it's now their responsibility, and I think that the newly elected speaker understands that, in fact, it is the major adult vote that they will have to cast, and we'll see whether or not they're willing to be adults and to cast it.
Congresswoman DeLauro, thank you very much for joining us.